This is part 2 of current production lenses that are outstanding as far as the NIKKOR line. Current production only. As I stated in the prior video before this, on the FX series of lenses, of which there were 13, I begrudgingly added a 13th onto 12, we have only 4 of current production DX NIKKOR lenses that are outstanding. Not subjective, but objective criteria that these lenses have to be divinely utilitarian, useful, stunning, outstanding examples of the lens art. They need to be fast, sharp, stunning, and they have to rise above all others either of the same focal length or something very close. Price be damned. Like I said, these are lenses that people wanted me to do. It's like, well, okay, you recommend all these other lenses, but what about current production and NIKKOR lenses that are outstanding, that are just essentially unquestionable? Now, whether you need them or not is another matter. I obviously cannot prognosticate for each individual photographer as far as their usefulness, but all of that aside, having owned them all and or used them all, current production and going back many years, these are the only 4, and you're stating, well, why 4? You know, most of us out there only have DX cameras. Well, the gaps that aren't here are filled in by FX lenses, such as the 24 to 85 VRG FX lens that anybody can and does use on their DX camera, or a 50mm or the 60mm micro NIKKOR. So we're just going over DX only manufacturer, not to say obviously that there aren't plenty of others that are covered in the FX line for your APS-C crop sensor Nikon DX camera. So what are the 4 DX lenses that are outstanding and exquisite examples, FX only, current production only? On the left here we have the 10.5mm fisheye, the most wonderful, fantastical lens, both fun and fascinating. Not only are they great to use, it takes a little skill to know how to use them right. It's kind of easy to screw up the composition of a picture with a fisheye lens if you're not trained with it. You can train yourself in about 5 or 6 days. You can just do a Google search and say, you know, Google search on bad examples of fisheye use. You know, there's plenty of tutorials on there about what you should and shouldn't use as far as the fisheye is concerned, considering you've got 180mm of coverage. You know, some things that you can, like, take a beautiful woman and make her look like some sort of hideous troll with a with a fisheye lens. You know, there are other situations like that. However, people do love fisheye pictures, and especially if you're going in a photo shoot, having one of these is like your little magical shotgun. You always include a fisheye shot or 2 in a special compositional, like a corporate shoot or a wedding especially. They always love the fisheye lens is kind of like the spicy pepper or the special spice. If you're doing a photo shoot for somebody, you always sprinkle a hair, a picture here or there too, and people love it, and it always kind of pays for itself, especially if you're doing gigs for money. Having a fisheye lens is indispensable. Next up the line is a Japanese manufacturer to 12 to 24. Now these are both still current production. Like I said, these are current production only lenses. There is a 10 to 24, but it is not made as well, and it has nothing to do with the gold ring being around this lens. The 12 to 24, even though it does not have the coverage of the 10 to 24, but the 12 to 24 DX lens is superior to the 10 to 24. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I own both lenses. It is optically superior. It's also made better, so it is an outstanding example. It is really, if you have a DX camera, you know, of course, FX, we've already talked about the FX wide zooms, but the second most important lens, I don't care what sort of shooter you are, it's like, what? How could you state that? I mean, I can state it. I don't care what sort of shooter you are, essentially and reductively, the second most important lens, at the very worst, the third most important lens that you should have in your arsenal is a wide zoom. Obviously, I'm all about primes, all about having, you know, 20mm wide or a fisheye and whatnot, but something that is indispensable is a wonderful wide zoom NIKKOR, be it FX or DX. And here we have the superlative example in DX, and that is the 12-24. Next lens, cheap as hell. Yes, it's made in China, but it is optically one superior, awesome little tank of a girl. She's the 35mm 1.8 DX lens. She is just insanely cheap. New, she's $200, I believe, currently. You can find them used all day long for about 80 bucks. You should own one. It is an exquisite prime, even though it's mass-produced in China. It is cheap, and it is just the cat's ass. It's just all there is to it, and it's really almost a sin, considering her price and how superlative she is, not to own a 35mm DX if you have a DX camera. Just period. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts. And unfortunately, I said there's only 4 lenses here to recommend. Everything else would be filled in by FX series lenses. And these are the only 4 that fit the criterion, the long list of objective criterion that I set on current production lenses in this DX series video. And the 4th and last would be the Super Zoom 18-200. She's an exquisite example, just like her FX cousin, the 28-300. She's an exquisite example of Nikon's optical art, where she does not have distortion or focus issues. Now, she isn't a true 200mm focal length, even though she's marked 200. The same thing with the 28-300. Ultimately, she is about like a 19-185, essentially. But we can ignore that. I mean, if you actually take her at 200 and compare it to another 200mm prime, you'll notice it isn't the same focal length. But it's a super zoom. It's an exquisite example. She does stand out above her cousins, not only in super zooms, but she stands out above her cousins as a must-have lens, especially if you're going on a trip and you say you can only pack 2 lenses. You know, you got a weight issue, you're backpacking Europe or something, you only got 2 lenses, you got a DX camera. What would it be? It would be these 2 exquisite 35mm prime and your 18-200 zoom, something that's going to make you happy. Something that's going to fulfill all your needs, and yet you still have a wonderful prime for taking normal pictures where you have better saturation and better depth, because there's no zoom or super zoom, especially due to the optical constrictions of the Minis elements and the distortion issues of all the light passing through all that glass. You know, having those 2 lenses would be perfect, because this 35 is extremely lightweight little girl. She's an anorexic little beast that spits out wonderful photographs, and she's just cheap as hell. Cheap in price, that is. So, this is video series number 2 covering DX current production only. Matching my list of criterion of all her brothers and sisters as far as what stands out head and shoulders above the rest as superlative examples. I'm not saying that all of these, either the FX or DX, that these are must own, because I can't tell you what your shooting involves, whether you're a street shooter, a wedding shooter, or a combination thereof, so I can't obviously make that claim, but I can say in the DX series of lenses, in this 2-part series, this being the second part, covering DX lenses, that these are the superlative examples. 10.5mm fisheye, the 12-24 Japanese manufactured DX wide zoom, an exquisite must-have necessity for any user. If you're going to start saving for lenses, you have a APS-C sensor, a DX NIKKOR, i.e. a DX Nikon camera. This should be your goal if you don't already have one. Just of that I can state, no ifs, ands, or buts. As far as broadening your arsenal vastly, there is nothing as indispensable, regardless of what type of shooter you are, than having a wonderful, unless you are bound strictly to doing headshots, portrait shots inside a studio only. I can say unequivocally that owning a 12-24 wide zoom is just a necessity and something that you should save for. If you have a DX camera, it's just exquisite. Especially if you live in the city and you do a lot of city stuff. I mean, landscape, it's just bloody indispensable. So, this is another video from the Angry Photographer covering the DX superlatives, as I would call them. If you like this video, you can drop me a buck or 2, or tell me to go jump off a cliff, whatever makes you the most happy. I'm about saving you money. However, these lenses, of course, are price be damned. I'm only talking about, in this video series and the one prior to it, about current production only, price be damned, superlative examples of Nikon's current production lenses, price being irrelevant. Obviously, I am all about saving you money, but many people have requested this video be made, so that is what the criterion here is. Not price, but what are outstanding examples. And here they are. And these are only 4 that I can make in the DX line. Everything else, I would recommend you to the FX line as far as coverage, like the 24-85 FX lens for use on your DX camera, or even like the 85mm FX 1.8G lens, or any one of a number of other FX lenses to use on your DX camera. If you have a a D7000 or above, or whatever DX camera you have. So, anyway, these are the only 4 on the DX line. Thanks for watching. If you like it, you can drop me a buck or 2, and it's another video from the Crazy Angry Photographer. However, this video was not made in insanity. It was made in perfect sanity, because I did go down a list of criterion, and I made a highly rational and logical choice in picking these out. It was not, well, hey, I think or feel or believe, or I think. No. I had to make a list of objective criteria, and these are the ones that fit it. Thanks for watching. Got it good. Another video from the Angry Photographer. Catch you later. Have fun.